All right, guys, time for part 3 of the facial rig. So let's go ahead and get to it. So with this guy, we actually finished up controllers and joints from last session. This time we will be doing a facial GUI interface to control blend shapes that we'll be putting into the rig, as well as any corrective blend shapes that we need in order for this character to properly open and close its mouth. So let's go ahead and actually skin the rig first, and then we're going to move on to doing the blend shapes. All right, so in order to do skinning, I'm going to go ahead and grab my mesh. I'm going to grab the respective joints that I need to skin it to. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and skin. And bind. All right, let's take a look. Of course, the eyes and the teeth and all that is not attached. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and put the teeth. Let's go ahead and put the teeth in a proper group, so we can go ahead and get them joined to the mouth. And I'm not actually going to skin these. I'm just going to basically group them, and then that group is going to be constrained to the jaw joint. Okay, so I'm going to do Control G for group. Bottom jaw teeth group. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got a lot of teeth here. Okay. Okay, top teeth group. And both of these, I want to group them together. Teeth geo group. Okie doke. So let's go ahead and take modify center pivot. Center pivot for this one too. And it really doesn't honestly matter where the pivot is. We're just going to be attaching it to, excuse me, we're just going to be attaching it to one of the joints in here. Now, why am I grouping these? And why am I not just skinning these directly to joints? So here's my mental thought process. Depending on the teeth or objects in general, you can replace the teeth with any objects really. But what I do is by putting these in groups and not directly constraining them or directly putting them like through a skin mesh, I can swap out the objects if I need to. I can make changes to them that me having them directly skinned does not allow me to do. So if I need to change something in the history, if I need to move them or rotate them or even key them in some way, I can still do that. And by them being in the group, there's an intermediary offset that allows me to get that level of control. If I skin this, I'm immediately locked out of all changes made to the geometry. And since these are teeth and these are not going to be flexing, then I don't really need to worry about skinning. And with a constraint, I can't constrain directly to the geometry. I can't really make any changes. So by having that, again, that intermediary group, I can do that. I can make changes if I need to morph the teeth or do something, I have that ability. So that's the reason why I'm doing that. So bottom jaw, we're going to go to the pivot. So I'm going to go pivot, bottom jaw, constrain, parent, maintain offset, turned on. Okay. Top teeth, honestly, they could go into any of these joints in the head that are non-moving. So, you know, just maybe sake of closeness, let's do this joint. Okay, same joint. And let's do the parent constraint, okay? There you go, see, now it's moving. Awesome. Tongue obviously is not moving. That would be a couple of joints put in there. You could have basically a little tongue rig in there. So that can come a little bit later. But for now, honestly, what I could do is just put it in. I could just put the tongue mesh into the bottom teeth rig or the bottom teeth group, and it'll move them around with the rest of the teeth. So that can be useful. All right, let's go and test some of that geometry, or not some of that geometry, some of those controllers and joints. See how well it works. Okay. Actually, it's looking really good. I'm not seeing, I mean, there's some places where clearly it's like, well, maybe just a little bit too far back, but it's not bad at all, actually. Okay. Okay. I'll turn the horns on. These guys, same thing as the teeth, I'm putting them in their own group. Orangeo group. And then that is going to go directly to the head top joint parent. There we go. Yeah, easy peasy. Okay. Eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and put both of these into a group, and both of these pieces into a group. Left eye geo group, right eye geo group. Okay, so this is the pupil, and then the eye, the rest of the eye, the iris, all that. So they're separate. And modify center pivot. Modify center pivot. Really does not want to do a center pivot on that. For some reason, it really doesn't want to. Honestly, it really doesn't matter though, because it really doesn't matter because it's just going to end up getting parented anyways. Okay. But it's always good to have the pivot in the correct spot. Okay. So joint, geo, constrained parent. Joint, geo, constrained parent. So that means when this one looks around, it's going to make that eye follow. Same thing with this one. Okay. Perfect. Well, there's a lot of geometry moving around that shouldn't be, but it'll be cleaned up. Okay. I'm going to go and turn off horns. A little easier to see. Okay. Let's go ahead and start doing some weight painting. So I'm going to go and start here at the neck base joint. And basically, I'm just going to go through and just kind of limit areas wherever I need to. This a little bit. So this next joint, you know, it can have a little bit of influence on the bottom, but not too much. So that's where the first joint goes. Two. Try this way. So I'm just going to go in and kind of basically, not really flood, but I'm going to paint really heavily influence down here on the bottom. And that should actually take influence away from other joints, since I'm filling those virtual buckets of influence up for those vertices. Okay. So you'll see here it's kind of weakened a little bit. Smooth that. See, that one's not taking as much. Pull down my opacity a little bit. And go around the neck just real quick. Make sure we're getting that. Neck joint one in there. Make sure we get that ring in there. And the top neck joint. The head center joint, and then the head top joint can kind of be majority of the head, majority of the skull, like the immovable portion of the skull. So like right here where the horns are going to be attached, that needs to be pretty immobile. It's a pretty thick skull at that point. Take a look at it. So brow joints, maybe bring it down a little bit. And we do not need brow influence around here. And also probably do not need influence directly on the lid. Brow outer. Brow mid, actually, let's give a little bit more influence, maybe here on the horn. Okay, so eye pivot joint, I'm actually going to go and do a replace 0 and flood. So I don't want the eye pivot to have anything right now. And then I'm going to go into opacity, turn value up, opacity really low. And then here's what I'm going to do. Very, very lightly. Something like that. Okay. Smooth the crap out of that. And you'll see when he moves his eyes, we get that slight eyelid movement, which is great. Okay. All right, so that goes into the right. Let's go over to the nose. I need to take out influence here. Nose really shouldn't be influencing too much over there, like when it moves. Let's make it a little bit harder. There we go. The nose tip. Go back to nose base. Okay, let's smooth that out. Nose tip. There we go. All right. So this one right here, I'm actually going to go to replace value flood. I'm going to add value back in. Right there. Flood. Then I'm going to add it back in. And smooth it out. Notice that I'm also trying to keep it off the gums right there so it doesn't pull away the gums away from the teeth. And then we can go ahead and do the jaw pivot. I'm going to pull away a little bit from here. I'm kind of just focusing on this side of the mouth right now, or the face. So when I open and close it, we'll try to get a little smoother. We can just a little bit smoother motion, then we can just mirror that motion over their skin whites over. flood. All right. Smooth that out. Bottom left. Same thing again. Flood. Flood. Replace. Just switch it back again. And add some in there. Smooth it out. All right. Let's go ahead and do a mirror skin weights and see how that works. Okay, YZ, positive X to negative X, which we are. Yeah, positive X, negative X, YZ axis. Apply. Looks good. Okay. It feels pretty good. Okay. So I think for the cheek area, we're going to need to add a little bit more into the head joint. So we'll go to the head center joint. And I'm actually going to go ahead and add in some of that. Pass it down a little bit more. Okay, bring it down, just gonna go real soft. I'm trying to get those transition places on the face to be as smooth as I can. Okay, and then like down here, we don't really need any of that. So I'm just gonna take a lot of that weight out and help smooth out. Okay. We'll see if that helps, kind of that shelving motion we got. You'll see right there, it kind of breaks up a little bit. So I'm pulling up that lip, you'll see it kind of gets a little weird. So let's go to left. Right there, see how that gets really sharp? Let's go and smooth all this out. Something like that looks a lot better. Okay. Test right here. Okay. So that's not bad. It gets a little pinchy right here. Let's go and pull that down. So bottom left joint. And we'll smooth that out just a little bit. Okay. Jaw pivot. I'm actually going to go ahead and do a replace all the way. And then I'm going to go right under the teeth and just make sure that that weight is pretty hard right here, just so the gums don't get pulled away from the teeth whenever we have this character speaking. So just like that. So now you see how the teeth are actually look like they're coming out of the gums. And then I'll need to do the same thing on the head center joint right here. And this is, again, just to keep the gums in the mouth in the right area whenever it's opening and closing. And this would be obviously the top of the mouth. There we go, got that, we got that. Okay. That'll just move a little bit. And then the jaw pivot. Allow it to smooth. Yeah, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and zero all of this out. Test that. Mouth closing and opening. So you'll see here that when I close the mouth, we got a little bit of an issue that the teeth actually cut through the lips. And then when I open, you'll see how the mouth, it's not bad, but like you'll see how it kind of looks like a rubber, looks like a piece of rubber just stretching. When if you open your mouth, you'll feel the lips kind of peel around or wrap around the teeth. And that's not what we're getting. We do want that. Okay. So we can use a blend shape to kind of help fix that a little bit for us. So let's go ahead and do your skin weights again. And test our brows. So we got a lot of movement around here around the brows. These brows should not be picking up anything below the brow region, like anything in the cheek. So we need to make sure we go and knock all that out. So what I could do is just go in the head center and add more value. And try to take away some of the value from the brow right here. Just give it somewhere to go. So got to replace. Let's take that away, and we'll just start wiping this out. And I also want to make sure it doesn't go across the other side as well. So with some of this kind of jumping over to the other side, I'm actually going to have to go over to my right brow and kind of paint out some of this crap here. You'll see how it also jumps over. So if I just mirror it, it's not really going to fix this problem. So I still have to jump over and go to the other side. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and mirror it back over again. We'll do some testing. Okay. See, it's a lot more localized now. It looks a little bit better. Okay. Mirror. Okay. Just go and save that real quick. All right. So I think we're ready to go ahead and start doing some blend shapes. So in order to do that, we'll need to open up our shape editor. Which is under Windows, Animation, Shape Editor. It used to be called Blend Shape Editor, but now it's just called Shape. We're going to create a blend shape. Now, you have to have the object you're going to be creating a blend shape on selected before you do it. And then you're going to just click on Create Blend Shape. Actually, also, previously, you would create it by going into Deform, Create Blend Shape as well. Now, either way, you're going to want to give it a name. Head BS blend shape. Usually I will set things up in deformation order right here. It's set to automatic. Usually I'll do pre-deformation and click create. So if we go back to the shape editor, you're going to see we now have two blend shapes, blend shape 1 and head BS. Let's just delete the other one we created. So this is going to be the central node, blend shape node, that we actually are going to be having all of the blend shapes that we're creating inside of. Okay. So the blend shapes themselves are actually referred to as targets. So kind of like target shape or target that the blend shape is trying to achieve. I'm going to call them blend shapes. Just I'm used to calling them that. So just know what I'm referring to. Blend shapes have multiple blend shapes is going to refer to having multiple target shapes that for the expressions. Okay. So everything's going to exist under head BS here, and we're going to go and add a new target. And so you'll hear it's just comes under here, it has a name. We can name it. We can do smile L, and we can activate it. And then we have this little red button that says edit. When it's red and edit basically is turned on, that means that we can change the shape, and then we can go back and forth between that shape. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab, I'm going to turn symmetry on for the X, and then I'm going to go to vertex. And I'm going to go ahead and make a blend shape. Okay, so you'll see it, but when I hit edit, we're actually able to create it, and you'll see that when I change the weight of the blend shape, you'll see I can actually shift between the two, and I can turn edit off, and now it's an activated, or it's a blend shape that's usable, and we can actually key this if we wanted to. Now, we will be attaching this to a driver, a controller, in order to drive that action, but that's pretty much it. So smile L, that's going to be smile for the left. We're going to be doing left and right ones for each one of these, okay? Now for this, I'm just going to be doing the smile, but you have to do the wide, the narrow, the smile, and the frowns. So that's a number of these, but that's going to be the same exact setup for each one of them. Okay. And also, I'm going to go ahead and create one for a blink. All right. So let's do add target. Eye closed. All right. So this will be for the eyes. Go and turn off, like my soft select is kind of getting around the eyeball. I don't necessarily want it to be acting like that. So right now, soft select is set to volume. It should be set to surface. See, it kind of blocks out some of this. Okay, so something like that. And I'm just basically just going to make a little shape for a closed eyeball. That's all I'm doing. I'm just sculpting the shape. Okay, this little area right here, this is getting a little bit weird. Let's go under, let's see, let's go back to modeling, mesh tools, sculpting smooth. And I'm going to go and change the size. Something I can use. I'm just going to basically just smooth out the meshes very, very gently. Something like that. So then what we got is blink. Now with blinking, keep in mind that when you blink, your top and bottom eyelid both move. It's not just your top lid, it's not just your bottom lid, it's both of them. And then also, you'll notice that it's also part of your brow that'll go down too when it blinks. So if you kind of feel your face when you blink, there's a very subtle shift, very, very subtle shift. But you know, animation, a lot of that's about exaggeration. So we can add that in too. So we kind of got the idea that maybe like skin is stretching over bone here. And also it's getting a little bit pinchy in a couple areas. I'm just going to go through and smooth some of this out. See? Just like that. That feels a little more natural. All right, cool. do another blend shape. It's going to be a corrective one. So when he opens the mouth, it pulls back like I mentioned before. So I'm going to go ahead and open the jaw. Add a target. Open mouth. Corrective. And then what I can do is go ahead and correct it. Oh, we should be getting symmetry in here for some reason. We're not getting symmetry, so let's correct it anyways. So there we go. Something like that. We want to smooth it out a little bit if we need to. A couple places might be just a little bit crunchy. But yeah, it looks pretty good. So you'll see the difference. Okay, without the corrected blend shape, with it. Also, something else was we might bring the cheeks up a bit. Thinking kind of like a cat roaring or a cat meowing or something like that. You'll see the kind of, it all kind of peaks up on the mouth. Gotta make sure those gums stay in place. There we go. That's ferocious. And then, you know what, might as well also, maybe get a little too into this, but maybe just correct the nose just a little bit. Just have it just go up just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay. All right, cool. I'm gonna stick with that. So smile, we need to have left and right on that. And then eye close, we need to have left and right. I'm gonna grab both of these. I'm gonna duplicate them. Okay. And then let's do, I'm going to rename this one R. Or right. And this one, a little L right here. Okay. Okey-dokey. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint influence for these blend shapes. Okay, so I'm going to go and select the mesh again. Let's go back to deformations, paint weights, blend shape. Okay. So the first target we see here says head BS. This is just the overall blend shape. you'll see everything's painted in white. This is the same type of thing as like doing skin weights. Anywhere where it's white means the blend shape will be activated. Where it's black means the blend shape will be turned off. Okay, so smile for L means that we need to have the smile activated on the left side. So basically this side. So what we can do is go ahead and paint it out with a value of 0 right here. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Just paint it out. Then we'll go through and we'll test these and see how well they work. Eye closed on the left means the eyes are going to be closed here. So I need to paint it out over here. An alternative method is you could just flood it out and then paint it back in wherever you want. Smile R means we're going to paint it out on the left side. Oops, I have to paint all that out. And then eye closed R obviously means we're going to need to paint it out on the left as well. Just like that. Okay, let's test this and see how it works. Let's do a smile left, and you'll see that we get a smile on the left. Do we see anything moving on the right? I don't see anything. If you see anything moving on the wrong side, you'll need to go back in to paint out that area because it may have some influence. Let's do a smile R. Paint it out, activate it. Do we see anything on this side? No, looks good. Eye closed left. You'll see it closes here. Good. Do we see anything over here? Nope. Eye closed right. Looks good. Do we see anything closing on the other side? I don't see anything closing on the other side. I think we're good. And of course, we still have our corrective blend shape here. Okay. All right. So we have our blend shapes duplicated. We have them divided up into left and right sides. So now we're ready to go ahead and attach these to a controller. So I'm going to go ahead and create a circular controller. And this is going to be how I set up my toggle control. Okay. So this will be my face left group or container con face left GUI con. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and freeze our transforms. Modify freeze transforms. Okay, so we're going to be doing some set-driven keys in order to activate this mesh, or not these mesh, the blend shapes. So I'm going to go to, actually go, I'm actually going to parent this controller under this one. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate and just move it over to the other side. So you can do both sides. All right. Mesh, modify, freeze transformations. Okay. So this one will control all the facial blend shapes on the left side. This one will control them all on the right side. So let's go ahead and take this controller, and I'm going to go to Windows, Animation Editor. Nope, I need to go to Animation Key, Set Driven Key, Set. So I need to bring my Set Driven Key menu. Driver is going to be this controller. Driven is going to be the blend shape node that's attached to this mesh. So we're going to go to, in order to grab it, we're going to go to Mesh, Inputs, and grab the Head BS and load Driven. Okay, so it takes a second, but you'll see that it loads in. Then we have our smile, eye close, smile, etc. So we have all of these that we need here. Okay, so for the smile, here's how I generally will set it up. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the controller. So it's set at a value of zeros. So in order for the smile to occur, we need to set a neutral position. It'll set the position where we turn it on. Okay. So let's do a smile left. I'm going to go and click on that. Translate. So translate Y and click on key. Okay. So it's set to 0 right now. I'm going to go ahead and move my controller up. And then I'm going to go to here and activate the smile. Okay. And click key. All right. So you'll see that when it goes up, it activates the smile. And then we have, in betweens that we can kind of mess with and kind of maybe not go straight to an extreme, but we have some range that we can work with. Now, when we do the narrow, when we do this frown, when we do the wide, those will be positions that we place on the bottom, on the right, and on the left. All right, so maybe if I go into the left, we'll have the narrow come in. When we do the right, we have the wide come in. So therefore, we get that full range of motion that we see on the other rigs that I showed you earlier. So let's go ahead and do it again on this piece. Just make sure we got it nice and in our minds. I'm going to go ahead and do load driver. So now it's this controller. I want to make sure it actually says properly, it has the right name. Face right. Face right. All right. Load driver. There we go. Okay. So it's going to be smile R, translate Y, key. And then we're going to go ahead and activate smile R. This is actually really important. You need to make sure you're activating the blend shape first. I'm sorry, not activate the blend shape. You need to activate the position of the controller first and then turn on the blend shape. So move the controller to the on position, then activate the blend shape, and then key. All right. So then that means with both of these controllers, I can make it smile or I can turn it off. Or I can do a smirk, however I want to do it. All right, let's go ahead and do that corrective one. All right. So driver is going to be the controller. So driver. And that is going to be based off of the rotate on the x-axis. Okay. So we're going to be doing rotate x-axis, open mouth corrective. Okay. So at our neutral position, it's going to be set to 0. So I'm going to go hit key, and then I'm going to go ahead and open my mouth. Then I'm going to activate the open mouth corrective. All right, and click key. So once I have that, then I can go and close the mouth, and you'll see that we have that wonderful blend shape here. that's activating, and it looks really nice and natural. This is great. Awesome. You can do the same thing with the blend shape for the closed mouth. You know, have the lips maybe come in and like fold down whenever you close the mouth. Honestly, for that one, it may not even activate it until, or start activating until you get to like maybe this value, like negative 11.6 when the mouth starts to close. And then maybe that's where it starts to like close up and fold in or something. Could also take care of the fact that we have this area right here that's kind of folding into and cutting through. That can be a little bit difficult to deal with, but we do need to be able to close that mouth fully. So that'll be interesting to see how you guys get around that. Let's go and do some blinks. So for the blinking, I generally recommend putting a couple of attributes for blinks on the look at command or look at controller. So I'm going to do blink L. We're going to do minimum 0, maximum 1. Click add. Blink R. 0, 1, and then add. If you guys remember from the actual full rig of this, I had a -1 and a +1 value. It's so I could have the eyes widen or I could have the eyes shut. And so that could be something you could set up too if you wanted. So let's do load driver. It's going to be this controller. You'll see we have the blink left and right. Let's do eye closed left. Click on key. I'm going to go and do both of these at the same time. Eye closed right, blink R, key. Okay, they're both open, so we don't really need to worry about it. All right, so let's go ahead and change the value to both of these. Change both to 1. And I'm going to go and change the value on eye closed R and L to closed. Okay. So then I'm going to go back to the set driven key menu. Blink R, eye closed R, key. Blink L, eye closed L, key. All right, let's test it and see if it works. Looks good. Looks good. Blink, 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 blink. Perfect. Excellent. All right. So those are keys on all of our blend shapes that we created. So today we went over skinning. We did some weight painting. We made a corrective blend shape. We set up a partial face GUI for one of the blend shapes that is actually going to be able to control 4 blend shapes that you create. And then we also keyed in a blinking blend shape. And then we would just set it the corrected blend shape for opening and closing the mouth. So it's quite a bit of work, but you'll see it's actually pretty straightforward. Yeah, it's really not hard at all to do. So for these controllers, let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and put a little group, face, GUI, con, group. All right, these guys are going to go under the head con. So let's grab this. Let's go ahead and shift select the head con, hit P. And so now this should follow wherever the head con goes, which is really good because you want to make sure that you have those controllers close at hand to where you can actually use them. Excellent. And then just a little bit further kind of use is we may want to limit the range of motion with some of our controllers. So with specifically these GUI controllers, depending on what they need to do, you can actually you know, I don't want to say it's limited to, but you could definitely do up to 6 blend shapes for each one. You could do up, down, that's 2, left, right is 4, and then backwards and forwards for 2 more. So you could do up to 6 of them, but for this standard set, you know, you could easily do 4 if it's like a toggle, or like a Joy-Con type of setup. But we may want to limit and not have our controllers go in too many different directions. So one thing we may want to do is go ahead and just close off, lock and hide translations on the Z. We don't really need it. We also don't need rotations. So we can go ahead and do that. For these guys, for the container cons, we don't really need to do we don't need to move it. So we can just do a lock and hide as well. So really it's just this. Now we also probably don't want to have these controllers going off too far away from their parents. So of course we can always go under the limit information in here. And we can do a translate limit. And we can do a, you know, a full max of, you know, value of basically 1, a minimum of 1. We could do a value of, see, maximum value of basically 1 is 0.99, but, you know, close enough. And we can do a maximum or minimum value of -99 or 0.99. So what that means is our controller is basically locked to this container and it can't really get outside of it very easily. So that makes things a lot easier for the animator because they can move the controllers around kind of freely and not worry about accidentally like losing a controller or moving it off in some place where they can't find it. So it makes it much, much easier for them to use. All right, excellent. All right, that's it, guys. So I look forward to seeing your rigs on the due date. So have a good one.